My guest today is Sharay Hayes, aka The Punisher. You might have seen Sharay in the news lately. He was supposed to be a star witness for the US government in their case against Diddy. Sharay is a male exotic dancer from Harlem, New York. Yes, you heard that right. He is a male stripper. He was also an escort for hire, and from 2012 to 2015, he was paid to have sexual relations with Diddy's ex-wife, Cassie, on multiple occasions in front of Diddy. Sharay explained to us how his testimony against Diddy backfired for the prosecution, and how it actually helped convince the jury that although Diddy might have been a freak and a weirdo and a sex addict, he was not in fact a predator and certainly not running some large sex trafficking operation, as the news and podcast made it seem for literally the last 2 years. He also exposed how Cassie and all of these other so-called victims, like Diddy's former bodyguard, videographer, and all of these other people who claim to have damning evidence against Diddy, might actually be lying and simply trying to win money in civil court. Certainly the jury thought that was the case. Sharay has a book out right now about his life as a male stripper from Harlem, which is wild. It's called In Search of Freezer Meat. It's a story about the male mental health crisis and what we can do about it. All right, you guys, this is a fascinating conversation, and it's going to make you look at the Diddy case in a whole new light. Sharay Hayes, The Punisher, right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell. Sharay Hayes, thank you so much for joining us. This is hot off the press. I don't know that you've done another interview since the Diddy verdict came down last week, but he essentially is about to walk. He beat the most serious charges, the most serious RICO charges, and is essentially now just convicted of purchasing prostitutes and transporting them over state lines, which he may just get out on time served. You never know. First of all, tell us your thoughts on that. A lot of people are happy that he got off. Some people, like myself, who think Diddy's a monster, but the federal government over-prosecuted. We have, I feel some kind of way about that. What are your thoughts on that, being as you testified in court for the U.S. government? What do you take away from this?
Yeah, so I look at it kind of black and white, just based off what the charges was. And me personally, I never thought they would get RICO and not even trafficking. And the rationale behind that is it's hard when, Miss Ventura is his girlfriend for 10 years. So and what the defense did, which was really smart, was they went through thousands of text messages. And aside from the sex, you saw the I love yous, I care about you, we're together, I want to have your babies, I wanted this, you know what I'm saying? You saw this real established relationship. So when you tell a jury, even though it's by the letter of the law, the prosecution said it only has to be one time where you think she was coerced. It's hard to tell just a group of people to say, you know what, erase 10 years of a real relationship, erase hundreds of messages where she consented to the sex, wanted the sex, was excited about the free calls, and pick a couple of times where she didn't want to do it and then say she was trafficked.
Right.
I just thought that was going to be a tough thing to get 12 people to agree on, especially 8 men.
Right.
Because when you really look at that dynamic, any guy in a long-term relationship, whether it's his girlfriend, his wife, or whatever, if it's a moment where she doesn't really feel like it and you talk her into it, hey, come on, is that coercion now?
Right.
Are you trafficking your wife now? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, so it just was like an area that I thought was going to be tough to prove. And obviously, I feel like without that, even the RICO stuff, we all know, if anybody has understanding of Sean Combs, he made his money between music, alcohol, and clothing, Mm-hmm. So then when you say, all right, he's running an organization, a criminal organization to facilitate his sex life, it just, you know what I mean? Like, it just sounds...
Yep. Were the jurors, members of the jury, were they also black?
So it was mixed, but dude, I always say this with being in court, like how they picked these jurors, it looked like You get on any bus in New York City, and that's the jury.
Right. It's everybody.
I mean, really everyday New Yorkers, like just on any random street, not even like a random street in the business district, like a random street, like at a fair. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it was really everyday people, man. So I that even when I saw the jury, I was like, man, them turning this into a complex scenario and interpreting this law without any bias is going to be really hard, you know?
Do you think I think it was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I cannot remember the date specifically, when Diddy in civil court paid Cassie, who is, you refer to by her last name, but Cassie, the singer, Miss Ventura is Cassie, the singer who Diddy was married to. He paid her out like something like $30 million in civil court. Did that come into play at all in the defense's favor by saying, hey, look, this woman was paid a whole bag just to shut up? Like, how much of a victim could she have been? Or do you think it was more of like the prosecutors saying, hey, look, Diddy is paying this hush money to keep the victims quiet? What do you think about that?
Well, I actually think that worked against her. I mean, because, we live in a society now where when a woman makes an accusation, like a lot of people's mind goes to, she's after money. A lot of people. And so I think what hurts a lot of people in these scenarios is when you file a civil suit before the criminal. And in that scenario, it was a threat, right? I'm going to release a book. I'm going to release a book and out you and embarrass you. Right. You know what I'm saying? It almost seemed like an extortion type of scenario. And I don't know if you paid attention to the closing arguments, but that's what the defense focused on.
And it's reasonable. That's a reasonable defense. It's not like the O.J. Simpson thing where he beat the criminal charge, but then later on the Goldman family and the Simpson family went back and they sued and they won. This is preemptive. Hey, I'm going to embarrass you, which is different than saying I'm going to expose you for a crime. I'm going to embarrass you for, being a freak, being a homosexual, which I want to ask you about. All of these things that, as a public figure are going to be potentially ruinous. So you're right. It does seem like extortion. And I, of course, have my biases, but, this is why you have 12 normal people on the jury. So I think that's completely reasonable. Now, tell us about your testimony. Tell us about what you testified to. And do you think that had a more of an impact for Diddy or against him?
So I was always confused about even being a witness for the prosecution because, from day one, I told them how, look, I didn't see any abuse. I didn't see any anything that would lead to her being distressed, except for very small, subtle reactions. So during the moments, it would be a lot of direction. Hey, move to the left, move to the right, move the candle, like visual cues that he would give us. And at times I would see looks of frustration on her face, or she would sigh like, but I never read that as she was under distress, right? Yeah. And what I think what the prosecution wanted was just that put out there, and maybe it could be interpreted as, hey, this guy didn't read it that way, but look, here's more signs of distress. But the defense did something brilliant, right? I've been a male dancer for 30 years. And being a male dancer, I'm constantly walking into rooms full of women that this is the first time they see me in their life, and I have to engage in them, dance and interact with them in a sexual way, right? So I have to become an expert at necessarily reading the room. There's some women that, hey, come over here and dance with me. And there's some women, hey, stay over there. And I have to assess that immediately. So what the prosecution anticipated was that the defense was going to try to discredit me and attack me on the stand. And they went the complete opposite way. They created more credibility for me than by saying, hey, look, man, you've been doing this 25, 30 years. Would you ever engage with a woman that did not want to? or did not want to engage with you. And I'm like, well, absolutely not. And in all your lines of experience, you will be able to recognize that. And that's true. Right. Hands down, I would be able to pick it up in a heartbeat. So the way they flipped my testimony as a witness to somebody who's credible, right? And also basically to somebody who would never participate in a sexual scenario with a woman that was under distress that didn't want to, I think it did end up favoring the defense.
Yeah, you're almost like an expert at consent or spotting consent.
That's a perfect way of putting it. Yes. Exactly.
Did the prosecution, seeing that, did they try to lead you down, leading the witness, they call it, where they try to get you to say something? The questions steer you in a way that gets you to say something that would be damaging to the defendant. Did they try to do that?
Yeah. So, well, in redirect, like I said, I did mention those periods of frustration where she would sigh and stuff like that. So in redirect, they tried to reiterate that, and try to bring that to the forefront. But, me testifying as factual and honest as possible, even though those moments happened, I just could not read them as distress. And you're impossible.
And any reasonable person, I just opened your interviews this morning, and within 5 minutes, you're like, this is an honest guy. And there's no way to quantify that. It's just humans can just tell. Like you're just kind of speaking black and white, the facts versus not. So for people that don't know what I'm referring to when I say you and Miss Ventura, Cassie, and Diddy, you were essentially being paid to have sex with Cassie in front of Diddy. This is a classic bull situation.
Yeah.
Was anybody else ever in the room, ever involved besides those two?
Never. Actually, it was a concerted effort to make sure nobody else was around before I ever even came to interact with them. So I remember a lot of times with her even calling her range, it would be come at 12. Wait, can you come at 1? Can you come at 2? Sometimes I wouldn't show up to 4 o'clock in the morning because they want to make sure every and anybody that they associated with was gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And these were in hotels around Manhattan?
Yeah, probably five different hotels around Manhattan. I remember the Essex House, the London Hotel, the Gramercy Hotel, the Trump International. And then there's another hotel, Central Park West, next to the Essex House that I went to, but I can't remember the name at the moment. Might be the St. Regis or something like that.
Nice. Oh, well, I've stayed there. I'm gonna ask for the Sharay Diddy suite next time.
Yeah. Just watch the baby oil, man.
Yeah, for sure. So as you could go read from the news, you walk into these rooms, the mood is already set. There's bowls full of baby oil in front of the bed. There's candles. Anything else that you can extrapolate from that you remember that was freaky or different or weird?
The only thing that really threw me off was, every time would start out in the living room area and all the furniture would be completely covered in sheets. Like almost like somebody was going to unoccupy a residence for long periods of time and you just covered all the furniture, so dust wouldn't get on it. And obviously we know now it's because it was an exorbitant amount of baby oil used. So they were trying to protect the furniture. But, my first time walking in, man, ironically, I had just watched the movie American Psycho on cable. And this guy, before he killed people at his apartment, he would cover all his furniture. So when I first walked into this dark hotel room with this beautiful woman that I didn't recognize, I had a momentary freak out. Like, is this a setup? Like, some serial killers about to hack me up or something.
That's not that I've ever been offered to be a bull, to be proffered in a situation, but that would always be my greatest fear is when my naked ass is in the air pounding this woman out, is this guy going to come from behind me? So,
dude, that was a constant worry.
Now, was this the first time you'd ever done anything like this? Been a hooker for hire?
Yeah. Second. Well, look, as a male stripper, you get propositioned all the time. But I'll be honest with you, you don't look at it that way, right? Because women don't call up and overtly say, "Hey, how much for sex?" They'll say something like, "Do you do one-on-one shows? Or do you do massages?" Which, suggestively, they wanted to lead to something more. So I had a couple of moments like that. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even look at it as prostitution, right? It's like I'm coming to dance and I got the option because young man egos, because I'm just hot. I'm the man, you know what I'm saying? But in terms of a cuckold scenario, this was the second time. And the first time I couldn't even participate, right? I was uncomfortable, and it was a scenario that I was there. I realized it was a thing. It was something completely new to me. But I couldn't even participate because of discomfort. So
this was the first time you did it. Was that also with Cassie and Diddy, or this is completely separate?
The first time was a few years earlier with a different couple. So going into the scenario, I knew of it. So I was a little bit more, relaxed to the idea of it.
Right.
But it still ended up being weird because, as you know, you probably heard from the other interviews, when he entered the room completely nude. And he also entered the view with a veil over his face, like one of those Muslim hijabs that they wear with only the eyes showing. So, I'm in a awkward situation trying to have sex. I was instructed to not look at him, not talk to him, not acknowledge him, but I could still see him from my peripherals. And you just don't expect an adult male to walk in a room butt naked with a Muslim woman veil on. It's like, what the hell is that?
Now was he sitting in so you and her are on the bed. Is he in a chair just off in the corner, or is he behind any kind of any other furniture? Where is he seated?
Yeah. So all of these scenarios pretty much started in the living room. So we're we're on one side of the room. She's like on a long couch and I'm on a single chair. And I'm kind of like angled facing her on the couch. And so he would sit at a table that was directly behind me, but further back.
I see.
So I can't see him unless I turn all the way around. And even the times I could see him peripherally, it would be because he would pace side to side to see from different angles.
Yeah.
But with his table and chair setup was pretty much in my blind side. Like I could not see him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I would only see him walk in the room or if he paced side to side. But obviously there's some discomfort. So I'm keeping an eye out from like what you said. I don't want some awkward scenario to happen where he walks up and tries to participate or anything crazy like that, which luckily never happened. But it just knowing he has on this burqa thing and nude and you can hear him like self-pleasuring, it was.
Okay.
It was,
I was going to ask you that. So that was a constant, right? Him.
Yeah, that was a constant.
Okay. He was calling out instructions to Cassie. Is that correct?
Yes.
But did you recognize? You didn't recognize at all that's the voice of Bad Boy?
No, I think he was specifically trying to hide his voice. Like the instructions were very subtle and very direct. And they would do something that now I understand it more. When he did need to communicate something, I guess, extensive to her, he would just get up and walk out the room. And she would see that cue and follow him out.
I see. Okay. So sometimes you would take breaks.
Yeah. So she would follow him out and sometimes literally come back 30 seconds later with instructions.
Okay. So interesting. So basically it just sounds you were taxing that ass all over the place and he was off and then that would be it. That would be the extent of it. How long would these sessions last?
Dude, the actual sexual sessions might have been 25 to 45 minutes tops. It was just like normal sexual interaction. And now I would be there sometimes 4 hours, 5 hours, but a lot of that was waiting around. It would be these huge suites and they'll throw me in a room or leave me in like an area and give me a remote control and say, just hang out and we'll get back to you when I need you. So, I mean, dude, it wasn't, the media sensationalized a lot of this stuff, but it was really just normal, vanilla sexual scenarios.
Yeah. And this is rich guy.
A couple, yeah.
Rich guy cuck behavior. Like, how many times does this happen in Beverly Hills or, with old white guys in Central Park, right? Living off Park West. Yeah. This is just, I think this is kind of a groundbreaking, scandalous case because now you got a black guy doing it, a black mogul, but this was not something that stereotypically black men did back in the day. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No. Listen, black culture, this is looked at as absolutely crazy. It's like, we walk around with that ego macho stigma, right? That you have to live up to. So anybody with an enjoyment or a fetish similar to this is going to be looked at crazy. So it's something he had to definitely keep hidden because he's immersed in black culture.
Yeah. So, and hip hop culture and culture.
Exactly.
Now I imagine you were paid pretty well. Like, you don't have to give us the figures if that's too private, but like...
No, it's fine, man. Every time I showed up, I received either $1,200 or $2,000, which I'm finding out now when you hear some of these other male escorts talk. I got $5,000 every time. I was like, oh man, I must have sucked.
No, I mean, I think they were just cheap. I think they, wow. I thought it was going to be like 20 or something. Okay.
Yeah. So the only thing I would say that worked in my favor was some of these guys were talking about they would stay 2 days straight, 3 days straight. And it was never that with me. I was never there more than 4 or 5 hours. But what happened is they would call me 3 days in a row. So I may go Friday night, $2,000, Saturday night, $2,000, Sunday night, $2,000,
Right.
And so the only difference I can see with the other guys, they were there long periods of time. Like 12 hours, 13 hours. And so I guess that's my only recourse to being the cheapest paying guy.
Right. But I guess compared to like going and stripping, which is like hard work, especially male stripping, it's tedious, it's exercise. I guess just going and hanging out in a suite and then having sex with a woman, with her husband there is actually kind of light work. So if you think about it that way.
Listen, the first time I was hired, I thought it was a regular strip show. At the time, to hire a guy to do a strip tease for 30 minutes was $200, right? So for me to then, and the first time we didn't even have sex. I just gave her like a massage and we kind of just, I did some like fake, she did some fake, and that was it. And then I get $2,000, which is 10 times the amount. It seems like a great deal to me, like
for sure.
I'm like, sign me up,
For sure. Wow. So, and this happened about 8 times on 8 different occasions between the years. What years?
Well, I can't remember the exact amount. So I estimate it be between 8 to 12. It's probably more like 12, maybe more. But that was my estimation, right? Okay. So, and it went on from 2012, from fall of 2012, let's say October, to spring of 2015, March of 2015.
Okay. And then how did the government, when, years later, all of this came down on Diddy, how did the government discover you?
So I don't know exactly how. I have to assume they got my information from Miss Ventura, from Cassie, because remember, it was only 3 people there, and I can't see Mr. Combs giving them my information, right?
Sure.
So I'm sure they got it from her, and dude, they just popped up in my building one day randomly, man. It was the craziest thing.
It's wild. That's wild. That is certainly fascinating. And now, all of this time that you're, showing up and participating with these guys, they're also, having freak offs in LA, Miami. But yet they still weren't able to gather enough evidence to show that there was, minors involved. All of this hype. I've never seen something so hyped to then, like in terms of a criminal case, to then fall flat since OJ, who actually did it. But now this is like the opposite of OJ. The court of public opinion condemned Diddy from the beginning across racial lines, right? This was the fodder for every conspiracy theory podcast, for, news shows, right wingers, everybody. It was like Diddy. He's a government agent. He's the Black Jeffrey Epstein. And then they can't even get him on. They can't even get him on trafficking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. Like, what do you take away from all this?
Look, man, I take away from it. The issue is everybody is out here trying to get paid for clicks. And so what happens is when a big story comes out, the crazier you can make your headline, the crazier the information you can put out there to draw views and stuff to you. That's what people are doing. I see it with myself. Like, I'll do an interview and say something like very clear and concise, and then the headline from the interview I did would be something completely different that's misleading. That would be like, oh my God, he said that, and it would make them click on. And I'm not mad at it, right? Yeah. You got to do what you got to do. You got to make your money or whatever. But we live in a place in a society of ideology, right? Opinion is more salient than fact right now. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a platform. Everybody doesn't do it with integrity, right? Yeah. So they throw out these crazy opinions, and because people like the dirt, right? People like negativity. People run with it, and it just spreads. And now you don't know what the real information is or the misinformation. So now Diddy's trafficking kids, right? He got video footage of celebrities that he's blackmailing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what do you, to that end,
train ran on him. You know what I'm saying? All this crazy stuff.
Right. And to be honest, I believe that because I am aware of just how many weirdos inhabit the music business specifically. But to that end, his bodyguard came out, his videographer came out, and basically allegedly exposed him for all these things. Like, what do you think their motivation was? And are you aware of them also testifying against him? And how did their testimonies, if so, how did they not stick at all with the jury?
So this is another thing that I realized myself. Because this was a federal courtroom, the only access into the court you had was kind of like this one Twitter account. And the guy was kind of like trying to quick type the parts of the testimony he thought was relevant that everybody else would want. And me being somebody on the stand who testified, I got off the stand, came home and looked at the recap, and it was like 25% of what I said. So if this was a public trial where somebody could actually hear the witness and the cross all the way through, I think a lot of the opinions and a lot of the hype would be different. But everybody's just getting these small portions of people's testimony and not seeing how they were crossed, how there were inconsistencies, how it appeared they were lying, how it was brought out that they have their own civil lawsuit that they're trying to get money from, that they can't really change the accusations because it hurts their own cause, right? Hurts their own future case, that you would see the defense pretty much tore everyone that they crossed to shreds. I think I was the only guy, maybe me and one other person maybe got through cross-examination without any negative backlash.
Wow. I mean, it's certainly true. You see how Cassie essentially got paid $30 million for blackmail, for extorting Diddy, threatening him to go public. It's quite possible that, his bodyguard, his videographers, his assistants are trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's incentive. There's incentive to, speaking up on this. I mean, what does he have right now? 55 civil suits or 59 civil suits filed as a part of this. Like, everybody's a victim,
Do you think Sean Puff Daddy Combs. That's right. I'm old school. He's Puff Daddy still to me. Do you think Diddy is a homosexual?
So, me growing up in Harlem and coming up in the bad boy era, that's been a consistent, constant rumor. His sexuality, there's something off with him. I'm not going to get into the full rumor part of it. All I'm going to say is based on my experience being there, right? He's not. Now, does he like some extra freaky stuff? Like, obviously, Cassie said on the stand that after male escorts would on her, she would go in a room with him and then take it off her and then rub it on his nipples. Now, that doesn't sound heterosexual, right? When you hear something like that, interacting with another man's semen. But I would have to say that my interactions, no, it just seemed like a guy that wanted to watch live porn. And I will also say this. Right now, everybody and anybody who's had something to say about Diddy basically has open court, right? There's a podcast for you to go on. There's an interview for you to do. And I do believe if he was actually physically engaging with men, I think we would have heard it. I think somebody would have came out and said, that's exactly what happened. I know there's one lawsuit with a guy saying he got drugged and was, interacted and raped. Yeah. Right. But, and any formidable, credible platform with all of this stuff that's been going on over the last couple of months, I just feel like somebody would be outward with, well, I slept with him. I did this to him, and until that happens, I have to say, no, but definitely a freaky guy.
Well, just fact aside, what do you think? Because you've been you've been brushed up with sex work, even though you weren't a male prostitute, but you've been a male dancer, a male stripper for 30 years. You've seen, the spectrum of humanity in this kind of work. What I personally took away from this is that Diddy is from an old school era. He's from Harlem, right? His father, big time drug dealer, right? He's from the era where it was very taboo for a black man in America to be gay, right? We know that the black community has not always been very accepting of homosexuality. So my thought was, okay, a guy like this has to suppress it his whole life. And then when he gets into a position of power, maybe he doesn't full blown, let the gay out, but he manifests it in all of these other kind of disgusting, predatory, criminal ways. Am I way off, or I don't know?
I mean, listen, man, you could be 100% spot on, right? Like it's in terms of an observation and a breakdown of the scenario, that could very well be the case, right? But I try to be very, very cool with this because me being a male dancer 30 years, right? And there is a 100% associated stereotype with being a male dancer that we're all gay, right? And look, I'll be willing to take a lie detector test. Yo,
Sharay, you're not.
I'll put up 10 grand. I'm not gay, right? But there are people who will swear, right? Because I've been in this business for so long that I am, right? So it's hard for me to align. Everything that you said is accurate, but you could give that whole breakdown on male dancing to make a case for me being gay, right? So it's hard for me to say, hey, you know what? You're probably right, because somebody doing that about me is also wrong, right? So
yeah, fair enough. I guess that's just a stereotype and just a feeling, and it certainly is not enough to condemn somebody or even win a lawsuit. That's just my thought, and I wanted to ask you that because you and Diddy come from the same era and the same neighborhood, and we're surrounded by some of the same culture and cultural influences.
And I want to I'll give you this, right? If you told me, hey, look, $1 million, yes or no, right? If you get this question right, you get $1 million. Do you think Diddy's gay? I would answer yes, right? Right? You know what I'm saying? But I'm not betting my million he is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, you know what I mean? Like if on a win scenario, it's not enough information, right? You just have to take what you think and kind of put it together, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of things lead up to he may be, but I have no factual. And then actually being there, nothing gave me an indication that he was interested in me per se, personally.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about then your story, your backstory, how you became a male dancer. Do you feel, is it pejorative if I say male stripper? Is that like offensive to male dancers?
It does not at all. I mean, maybe it is to some guys, but with stripper, dancer, they try to clean it up, anxiety dancer.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. You know what I'm saying?
Cool. Appreciate it. Okay, so so you grew up in Harlem. You raised basically by your grandmother. Only child. You were an athlete. You stayed away from the streets as best you could. Yeah. You were an athlete. You go through, when you're a young man, like 18, 19, 20, I think, you're in a relationship. And, you know, the bitch breaks your heart. We've all been there, man. We've all been there. Most of us go to the gym a ton. We develop a drinking problem. We go to live in India for a year. You chose to deal with it a different way. The floor is yours. How did that grow into your career?
So I had a good motivation, right? Because the bitch that broke my heart, her means of breaking my heart was she became a female stripper.
Right.
She's my girlfriend. She comes home 3 years into our relationship. We're living together. I'm ready to propose. And it's like, I'm going to work in a female strip club. And I'm like, no, you're not. You know what I'm saying? And dude, I'm in love. And she basically was like, take it or leave it. It's happening. So I took it. We stayed together. It was terrible, right? I was gut wrenching because I know she's going to work 3 nights a week and getting groped on, right? So it's like money. But somehow I pushed through, and then a year later, she just shows up like, look, I'm meeting all these guys at the club. I'm tired of being tied down, and just dump me, right? And you know it is heartbreak, right? Mm-hmm. And so my 21-year-old mind at the time was like, I'll show her I'm going to be a stripper too, and she'll see how it feels, right? And that literally was the motivation, man. I luckily I played basketball with a guy that was, you know, pretty like connected. He was like one of the top male dancers at the time. And I made some terrible deal with him, which seemed like a terrible deal. I gave him my brand new laptop for him to connect me with male dancers. He definitely took advantage of me, right? But
sure.
Best deal I ever made, man. Like you take at the time I turned 22, you take a 22-year-old guy who's kind of shy and never really approached girls. And now you walk him into clubs and there's hundreds of women just screaming and yelling for him and this, that, and the other, man. It was, I would not trade it for anything, man.
Okay. So yeah, you really don't regret this at all. I mean, obviously you've been doing it for 30 years. What do you love about it so much?
So, I mean, listen, man, guys are going to this weekend, right? It's Sunday. Guys got up last night and they put on their nicest outfit. They got nice haircuts. They went to some place and spent $500 a pop for $30 bottles of vodka. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All to meet women. All for the motivation to meet women. So now you take me and you put me in a club, and now these same women, they're spending top dollar, you know, getting Corvettes and fancy sports cars. These women are in the club now paying me for my attention. And it's not because I don't even want to turn into an ego thing. Like I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's like a traditional thing to do, right? So if you get 100 women in the club and you got 10 guys, you're going to get attention like you're a rock star, you know? Right, and so me being able to do this my whole youth, like my entire 20s and into my mid 30s, in terms of every weekend I went out, it's just a club full of women and I'm paid to interact with them. I basically have free reign to squeeze boobs and, you know what I'm saying, smack asses and the women smiling and giving me money in return. Thank you. Like what guy is not going to love that?
No, that's brilliant. That is, you actually hacked. It's a hack. You cracked the code about how to get attention and get laid. I assume you took some of these women home or met up with them later.
Oh, bro, I'm disgusting. I'm a hoe.
For sure.
Yeah, dude, as much. If life was an all-you-can-eat buffet and I am obese, you know what I'm saying?
Hilarious. I love it. Yeah. And most men are hoes, but they're not getting paid for it.
Yeah, and dude, even creating the opportunities for yourself, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of rejection. So fun fact, bro, doing this my whole life, if you put me in a regular club and tell me to meet a girl or whatever, I suck. I have no game. You know what I'm saying? Like,
same.
I've lived my whole life with women approaching me. You know what I'm saying? Women,
right.
Whatever. Dude, it's like a cheat sheet, man. And so obviously you get to a certain age where it's like, all right, you're 35 years old. How much longer are you going to do it? And most guys wean their way out. Right. And I just, I had like a business mind behind it. So I said, all right, let me take it away from me just performing. And I opened the business and start throwing the event. So long story short, I'm a part of a company. It's called Hunkomania. It's like the equivalent of Chippendales, but now, right? And we're in multiple cities. And when ladies plan their bachelorette parties or they want to do a girls' night, they can buy tickets and come to the event. So yeah, it's 30 years in the business, not necessarily 30 years running out every weekend trying to make some sweaty gold money. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No. Now you leveled up.
Yeah, I leveled up and just turned it into like a business model that's been going well for me. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. And how much does a typical woman, when guys go to a strip club, right? Depends where you are, of course. You go to Vegas, it's a different experience than when you go to Miami, or when you're from Portland, Oregon, which is the actually capital of some of the best strip clubs in the country, because
you can knew that. Wow.
Yeah, because they can serve full liquor with fully nude girls.
Oh yeah, that's rare. Yeah, you can't
it's very rare, and so the laws allow it. So we actually have some bad bitches, some bad vegan white bitches that are there, shaking that ass, dropping it to the floor. So. But you maybe a typical guy maybe tosses $100, $200, maybe gets a dance, right? I don't do any of that, but I'm just at the rack and, I'm in and out for $100. Like what is a female, strip club goer typically spend? Like what does the female experience with male dancers look like?
So in the club, it's not lucrative at all, right? Like if a guy walks out of the club on the average with $250, $300, that's a good night, right?
Okay. So
the way I was able to make large amounts of money is actually bachelorette parties. So when you live in a city like New York and everybody's so saturated close together, on a Saturday, I can literally have 6 bachelorette parties. So I can stop at one at 3 p.m. and that's $200 to $250. Then 5 p.m. Then 7:30. Then 9. Right. So if you're going from house to house to house to house and you're making $200, $250 plus tips a pop, that adds up. Mm-hmm. So in the bulk of me being a dancer, I made decent money just doing house parties, and the club events were more to market yourself.
Right.
So you would go to a club event, it'll be 300-400 ladies. You hand out business cards, you let them know, hey, if you're having a private event, then you can hire me. And then you try to stack all these parties over a Friday, Saturday. So you could do, if the most you're going to make is maybe $1,500, $2,000 a weekend. And you're hustling. These are only like a handful of the top guys. But if you do this long enough and you have a good mindset behind it and you watch your spending and stuff, you can get ahead. And then the money really comes when you start on this end, when you throw the events. And now those 100 girls paying $40 a pop on the average to get in. Now you're making that every weekend. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And depending on the times, like when that Magic Mike movie came out, it was this crazy uptick where all women wanted to just go see male strippers. So now you got 400 or 500 girls a weekend at $40 a pop. It adds up, so you can make good money.
And are these women like horny? the way that men sometimes, I guess, are horny when they go to strip clubs. I go there for a laugh. I'm kind of a about it. I'm like, let's go, throw some dollars at some girls and have a couple of drinks. And it's kind of just like a guy's night out. It's a buddy thing. But then there's a lot of like sex addicts and deviants there to, try to convince them to fuck them for money or to get a lap dance and then later fantasize about it. Like, are women like, what do they go into this for? Is it just like a novelty to say, we're at a bachelorette party. Look at this hot guy dancing. Or are they like, oh, I'm getting turned on. I'm wet.
Yeah. So you hit it on the head, right? I want to say 95% of women show up as a novelty. Mm-hmm. And they don't even show up for the dances per se. They show up because it's my sister's bachelorette, it's my bestie's bachelorette. So they're coming for the tradition of it. Right? Yeah. The tradition of it. Your husband's getting a bachelor party. You got to get a bachelorette. Right. But it's the environment, right? You do have a room full of good looking guys in great shape and you got alcohol. Yeah. Right. So there's always that fine line of those motivations, right? You get a lot of women in there that never really been approached and never had interactions with that hot in shape guy. So they can get caught up in that moment. And that's what leads to the sexual opportunity. Mm-hmm. But very few women are walking in the door like, I'm looking to get my rocks off. That's not that, man. If that was the case, man, life would be too good. But,
yeah, exactly. You'd have Cassie money.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the male dancers, the male strippers, now, it doesn't sound like you had any kind of like trauma or abuse in your home life the way that a lot of female strippers, dancers, sex workers have had. Am I correct in saying that?
That's 100% correct.
Now, the other, because now you have a company where you employ and contract with other male dancers, do you see that at all with them? Are these like sex addicts, as they might be termed now, or are these just hustlers, guys that are good at dancing and well built that like to make money? Like, what's your perspective on that?
So honestly, the majority of male dancers start out with guys that have money problems. There's a need for make money somehow. A lot of guys start in the male dancing business that done short stints in prison and they can't get a good job, but they come out in really good shape. Right. Because they were locked up. Or you get really, really, really young guys that this will be cool. I seen a guy doing this at a party. It looked cool. He made money. He met girls and I'm in shape. I want to give it a shot. So that's really where it comes from. It's not really a traumatic thing. Like, I was abused. So now I have this over-sexualized nature. Young men want to meet women. And it is nothing better, like I explained earlier, to be in an environment where you're actually getting paid to associate women in a flirty sexual way. It's got to be the best job for a young guy, man.
I mean, you're blowing my mind here. Just like I think you're blowing a lot of the viewers' mind who would just assume when you hear that, you're like, oh, he's gay. He's gay.
So I'll tell you where the gay thing comes from. Like I said, a lot of guys are motivated to do this from money. So I'm a anomaly, right? Usually a male dancer. At one point for a short period of time, I had a job as an assistant kindergarten teacher, maybe from ages 22 to 24. And I've been only a male dancer for women for the rest of that, right? And usually to make enough money just off of women to sustain your entire lifestyle is not realistic, right? So most guys also will go and dance in gay clubs. And the opportunity to dance in gay clubs are way more than the opportunities to dance with women. Mm-hmm. Like, so me, my entire dancing career, I primarily only worked on Friday and Saturday night. A guy can dance in a gay club every night of the week, right? So it exponentially brings up your amount of money made. But at the end of the day, once you start dancing for men, then there's going to be the stereotype of being gay because, you're going to believe as a straight guy the straight guy cannot dance for men, right?
Yeah.
I know I never did. I know I haven't, and I wouldn't. Not that I have anything against people being gay, but because I'm a heterosexual man, I wouldn't even want to put myself in out of my comfort zone where I can get offended for being touched or propositioned or spoken to a certain way, and now I'm acting angry. You know what I'm saying? Over the environment I put myself in. That's not fair to gay men. I can't go into their establishment and then create boundaries against their sexuality, right? So I left it alone. Some of these guys going into that environment, and then you have females come in and they see them interact with males to make money, then they're going to get that label, you know? And I guess you got to say, look, there's something called gay for pay, right? And whether it's for pay or not, it's still gay acts, right? So I'm going to say the stereotype is warranted, you know?
Sure. In prison, it's called gay for the stay.
Yeah, I'm sure that's definitely a criteria.
I didn't ask you this, Sharay. Last question about the saga with Diddy and Cassie. How did they first discover who you were? How did they first reach out to you?
So, bro, man, I'm literally just at my apartment, and I just got a call from the doorman like, hey, you have a visitor. So I show up downstairs to the lobby, and I see two guys. It's clear they're law enforcement. You know cops when you see them, right? So I originally thought it was for an incident at the club. You know, I work at a nightclub. There's always incidents. So I'm thinking they're calling and asking me about a club incident. So I'm real standoffish, like, yeah, how you doing, fellas? I'm Sharay Hayes. What can I do for you? And they're like, well, we need to talk to you. And I was like, well, we could talk right here, you know, in the lobby. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, we can. And then they're like, well, it's about Mr. Sean Combs. And I'm like, follow me upstairs, fellas.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they came upstairs and they played it really cool, man. They were like, look, we're interviewing hundreds of people. We're just doing our due diligence. We know you were a part. Just, let us know what you know. And I was like, well, look, I saw them this many times. This was the environment. I understood the law because it was Homeland Security. They said they're investigating trafficking. I said, look, I lived in New York. I only saw them in New York. So I don't think it applies to me. And I never saw any violence. And it was probably a quick 30-minute conversation. They took notes and cut out. And I never expected to hear from them again. And this was May of 2024. And I did not hear anything again to almost Christmas of 2024. And even then, they never told me I was testifying. They just said, hey, we have to turn over our notes to the defense. We're just letting you know. They may see your name. Somebody may contact you. We just give you a heads up. And I'm like, sure, whatever, because I don't think I'm going to testify. Right? I don't think I'm significant. Right. And the only cue that gave a little bit of indication was at the end of that December talk was like, do you need help getting an attorney? And I'm like, an attorney for what? Like, and so fast forward to about April. Late March, April, they contact me again and they're like, hey, look, do you need help with an attorney? And I'm like, look, why do I need help with an attorney? And that's when I found out what was the likelihood we may call you to the stand.
Right. So the detectives gave all your statements to the United States attorney, the AUSA, and they deemed you worthy. They thought that your testimony would be credible.
Yes.
And it turns out to really be the opposite.
Yeah, well, credible, but not beneficial to their case.
That's right. That's right. Now, were you worried at all that, because taking money for sex is technically illegal, right?
So one thing I do is I have an understanding of the law. So the first thing I went to was I checked on my own statute of limitations, these type of things. So I understood even with my admission of this stuff, I wasn't going to be at any direct risk because the statute had passed.
Right.
So that's another thing. A lot of people, remember we spoke earlier about all of the other witness credibility and stuff like that. A lot of people are assumed to have immunity and prosecution agreements, which I wasn't required to get anything because there were no charges that could be brought against me. But a lot of the people that were testifying in Diddy's RICO, I'm assuming they had to get immunity or prosecution agreements because they are technically co-conspirators. You know, if you really think about it, Cassie is a co-conspirator.
Totally.
Right? She's a co-conspirator. A lot of these, you know, that assistant that jumped into the car to help him allegedly bomb Kid Cudi's car, that's a co-conspirator. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and did she testify against Diddy in
Yes.
regards to that? And they still couldn't get him on firebombing the car? Wow.
because because now the jury has to look at this person who's complicit.
Right.
And now you know what I'm saying?
It's right. And a blackmailer and a liar.
And the lawsuits coming out. And I was scared death working for him, but then I called 6 months later to get my job back. Like,
right.
It was just too many things the defense was able to rip apart. Yeah.
And I personally think Diddy's probably guilty of a lot of this shit. But because we live in the greatest legal system, have the greatest legal system in the world, that's not enough. You got to prove. I don't have to prove why I'm innocent. You have to prove why I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Why I'm guilty. And that's enough. That's enough. So I go on record saying I think justice was served in the way that it went about. I think this is a win for American justice. I think Diddy, I really do. And it doesn't mean I don't think he's sick. It doesn't mean I don't think he's a kind of a monster. I mean, he's I think we can I'm comfortable with saying he's a bad dude. Just because where there's smoke, there is some fire. But was he, foreign intelligence asset? Was he a John Gotti style kingpin? That's what RICO charges are for, to take down the mafia.
Yeah.
No, absolutely no.
Yeah. And I think what killed the RICO too is like, he has a good legal team, man. Like if you have somebody as big of a celebrity as Diddy, right? He's not going to Walmart to buy his own baby oil.
No.
He's not going to the corner to buy his own ecstasy, right? He's going to use his assistants and people in that dynamic to do that stuff. Now, are those crimes? Yes, right? Go sending somebody to buy you drugs, you're buying drugs, right? Mm-hmm. But every celebrity that uses drugs are not going to the dealer on their own. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're just not. Like, so to say him using personal assistants and stuff like that to do these actions is racketeering, then every celebrity that's using their help for personal matters is racketeering. And that's you just can't do that, man.
No, he's not profiting from it. That's the big difference. He's not profiting from it. It's not a business.
There you go.
So, okay, Sharay, this has been absolutely mind-blowing. Tell us about your book, sir. In Search of Freezer Meat. It's called In Search of Freezer Meat.
Yes.
That is a salacious title. You clearly know about marketing.
Yeah, there you go, buddy. I'm glad you get it. So, all right, In Search of Freezer Meat. So I had this very, very unfortunate scenario. I'm this male stripper, part-time escort, right? Because I do take the proposition. So my sexuality is everything, right? Me as a lover, me as a male, me performing sexually, I have this huge chip and ego and pressure on me because I'm the punisher, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I hit what every man hits, which is that age where you start to decline and I start to experience erectile dysfunction, right? Oh, sure. It hits me like a ton of bricks because my value, so much of my value is built around my sexuality. So I go on this 10-year journey of I cannot have erectile dysfunction and I'm going to do everything that I can do to get back to my 22-year-old self and the stainless steel erection, you know what I'm saying? And I literally, but like, as trying to make light of it, it became a traumatic experience for me. The more
have you not heard of Cialis, sir?
Oh, we'll get to that, man. Listen,
okay, great.
I overdosed on Cialis, basically, right? That's the point. Every male sexual enhancement aid you can use physically, I've done it 40 times. And I got to the point where nothing was working, nothing was helping, anything was happening. I finally went to a doctor for an extensive medical workup and found out there was nothing wrong with me physically. Everything was mental. Everything was mental. And it had got so bad for me mentally that my only recourse to cure it was to get a penis implant, which top 3 decisions I ever made in my life.
Is that right?
Top 3 decisions I've ever made in my life.
I have a hair transplant. Maybe that's your next step. Is you get the hair? Maybe you get the hair transplant.
I'm actually good with this look, but no, okay. I know a lot of guys. The hair transplant. So listen, you can relate, right? Because I can imagine there was cases of insecurities you dealt with when you were dealing with the hair, right?
Yes.
And then you get the transplant, and then all those insecurities go away. You know what I'm saying?
No, they didn't all go away. I still have penis insecurity.
Okay, so I'm talking about hair insecurity.
But the hair and the penis are the most important things to a man. So this is actually relevant, what we've touched on.
Yes.
I think a lot of young men, especially my generation, I'm younger than you, who kind of grew up on porn, have erectile dysfunction. Even from a young age, I had erectile dysfunction because I was nervous. I was scared around women. It wasn't like constant. I was always hard, but when I would, hook up with a girl, I was fearful. I was terrified of women. And so I couldn't get my piece hard. And so once I discovered pills, it changed my life. It was like Bradley Cooper in the, that movie.
Limitless.
Limitless. It was my own Limitless pill. But then now it's like I can't even imagine life without it, So it's kind of an epidemic in men. Maybe you can. But go ahead. Please tell us about.
Listen, everything that you said is spot on because me and you have the same story, right? Me being a male performer and my value being built on my sex game. I started taking pills way too early when I didn't need it, probably just like you, because of anxiety. Yeah. So what ended up happening to me, which hopefully never happens to you, pills, all they do is expand your blood vessels. And if you lose confidence in pills, they will stop working. And they will, because when you get anxiety, your body makes something called cortisol, and cortisol constricts your blood flow. And the cortisol is stronger than the pills. So you got a lot of guys that have given up on pills, or they're doing this. I took Cialis, but Cialis not working. Let me try Viagra. Now the Viagra's not working. Let me try the honey. Now I got to drive across town to this sex shop that sells this other pill because my boy told me this pill works. And now they don't sell that one no more. Now I'm ordering some stuff from China that gives me a headache and turns my face red. Right? So we all go through these different options, and what we're doing is we're trying to fix a mental problem with a physical remedy. Sure. And so basically, man, when I was going through this, like I had no outlet. I had no one-stop shop book that could explain all this to me and not do it in like some medical jargon. Like I kind of wrote my life story with all these crazy, funny stories about me being a dancer, the Diddy story and all this stuff. But it also chronicles how I was en route to erectile dysfunction as early as when I was still a virgin, bro. I started developing sexual anxiety before I even had sex for the first time.
Yeah. So that's relatable. I feel like that probably applies to me too.
Dude, I'm telling you. So when I went through this journey and literally, bro, when I tell you, I tried everything from the pills to the injections to the medical gummies to bring down anxiety to the TRT to the injections, the actual injections that the porn guys, where you actually stick a needle into your penis to create an erection. Right. I tried every and anything with the pros, the cons, what to expect, what not to expect. But then I coupled it with these hilarious stories about my life, some about how the heartbreak affects you, how you got guys in long-term relationships that they sleep in separate bedrooms than their wives and they don't touch each other. And it creates all these different issues and stuff. And it's all here. It's all like a real fact is more than 50% of erectile dysfunction cases are mental.
And but your solution was not to improve your mental health, but it was to get a penis implant.
Yeah. So listen, I got to the point where it was so far gone. I was not sitting on the couch, talking about how my mommy didn't hug me, so now I can't get an erection. Right? I just couldn't do that. So the reason why I go to the extreme of a penis implant is there's a lot of guys that give up. We all know guys that they won't say it, because it's a shameful conversation. Men, we can't really have this conversation with anybody, right? So you got that guy, like I mentioned earlier, that his wife's not sleeping with him. He's not meeting any girls. He's just and he just created his life around fantasy football, and you know what I'm saying, and something. And he's kind of given up on his sexuality. And that's what we're taught as men. We're taught once, we'll convince ourselves where I was young, I had my run, it's over for me now, it's no big deal. No, it's a big deal, man. You should not give up on your sexuality. You should not give up on trying to find a remedy, to try to cure it, to stay motivated, to be the best you can, especially as a sexual lover. Our sexuality is directly tied to your masculinity.
Absolutely.
Right? And you can't give up on that. So that's what the book is really about. It's kind of it's the book I would have needed to read when I was going through this deep struggle that would have kind of given me the motivation and the knowledge and the insight to correct the situation by any means necessary. So the penis implant is the end all be all. If you tried everything, once you have full understanding, still, there is an option that no matter what, if you do this, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Wow. Now, did you couple that with solutions to naturally bring down your anxiety and improve your mental health? Have you also improved your mental health besides just getting the implant?
Well, so for me, because once I got the implant, my anxiety pretty much dissipated almost immediately. Once you have that assurity that this thing is going to work every time, I'm going to get the best erection of my life for as long as I want it. You have unlimited stamina. You think I had a hack before, with meeting girls as a male stripper. This is.
Hang on, let me put my hand up. I got a question, teacher.
No problem,
did you have the implant when you were Cassie in front of Diddy?
I did not, bro. I did not.
Were you able to keep it bricked up though, or?
So that story is in a book because that story specifically is what killed me with pills. Going into that situation, I could pop a pill and I was good. But that extra anxiety to perform, that's when I started. One Cialis wasn't good enough. Let me take two.
Wow.
Let me take a Cialis and a Viagra. And then I'm that guy riding from store to store, ordering stuff from China. And so what that did was it created, it discouraged me in the effectiveness of those. Cycle. Wow. And then that just kept going forward and forward and forward. But I did not realize it was mental. I really thought, it's the pills. Maybe my body's getting used to the pills. It's not effective for me no more. And I have really got to a space where I was like, okay, I'm out the game. With bro, I go honestly say for a period of time, I considered being a if I can't, satisfy my woman. Yeah, I'm in this relationship with this super, super highly sexual woman. I'm having anxiety. I'm having issues. And it's if I can't satisfy her, rather than her going out and doing it behind my back, maybe I should facilitate. There's a lot of stuff men we go.
And what's so fascinating and what makes this story so ironic is that Diddy himself could have been suffering from these same problems. Well, certainly the guy's got a basket of other mental health, probably trauma, right? Abandonment, coupled with this. He gave up.
Yeah, you give up. You give up and you think, hey, I have to do this by other means, especially when you got an older guy with a younger woman.
Right.
You automatically start thinking, hey, can I keep up?
Right.
Can I? So again, it's all of these mental hurdles we go through as men.
Yeah.
But bro, we don't talk about it, right? You're not going to sit down and tell your buddy, hey, I can't get it up. I'm worried. You know what I'm saying? You may have one buddy that you can say this to, but it's not an open conversation between men. So I wrote the book as like a conversation, right? It's a conversation between me and whoever's reading it. And we're going to get to the bottom of which issues may be. And we're going to go through all of the ways of solving it, all of the ways to adjust your thinking. And if all else fails, I'm going to walk you through an implant.
Wow. I mean, look, this is the book that many of my listeners need to read. It's you're totally right. Guys need to hang out more, talk more, commiserate more. That's why I love going to the barbershop, dude. It's just dudes. It's bros. Because it's cathartic, man.
Energy, you need that, bro.
Yes. The title of the book is In Search of Freezer Meat, a story of the male mental health crisis caused by erectile dysfunction and the only true cure no one is talking about, a penis implant. By yours truly, the Punisher of New York City, the Punisher of Harlem, Sharay Hayes. And they can get this obviously on Amazon, but your website, anything else where the people can find you?
Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Apple Books. It's actually on Audible. A lot of people jump on the audiobook. I'm an audiobook my guy too, and I actually narrated the book myself, so people think it's hilarious because I'm telling my own story, so it comes out pretty good.
That's amazing. And yes, and the Diddy Cassie anecdote is in the book as well. So go out and get it. We're gonna link in the description. Sharay, this was an unexpected delight. This conversation.
Yeah, man. Happy to hear, man.
I really appreciate it. And then for any female listeners, where can they find plug your business, your dancing business?
Listen, we're located and guaranteed in the city near you. Our business is hunkomania.com. We do bachelorette birthday celebrations at clubs, and we also do send guys out for little striptease telegrams. We have a bachelorette and stuff at your house. And if you got these ladies' night celebrations, we'll be able to, make sure you guys have a good time and a memorable moment with your loved ones and in a male exotic dancer entertainment way.
Hunkomania.com and In Search of Freezer Meat. Sharay Hayes, thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. And I got to get the number to your penis implant guy.
Oh, yeah, man. I got you. He's the man. He'll take care of you.
he's loving you right now, dude. He's loving all this press.
You don't matter how many people. One last thing. I do, for guys who are thinking about this, you need somebody to walk you through it or whatever. My website is freezermeated.com. And I do consultations. You send me an email. I'll walk you through the process. Because this is also, I didn't mention, guys with diabetes. This is an option for you, man.
Right.
Guys with health issues that give you high blood pressure, that can create circulation issues and stuff like that.
Hey, he means fat fucks. He means fat fucks, and now you don't even have to be less fat. You could just go get something in your. God love America. What a country this is.
Yeah, man. We get cheat code, man. Look, the ladies been getting the boobs and the BBLs, man. Get in the game, man.
That's right. You go see Sharay about your, and then come see me about your hairline. Okay.
There you go.
Got you covered.
2-for-1 special.
That's it. Sharay Hayes. In Search of Freezer Meat, in bookstores everywhere and online. Thank you so much, my man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. This was a blast, man. Thanks for having me.
Have a great one.